Wild Arms follows a band of rogues known as the Dream Chasers, who search the world in the hopes of fortune and adventure. As the player, you assume the role of one of them known as Rudy, who has the ability to wield weapons, which are called Ancient Relic Machines, or ARMS for short. Throughout the experience, the player can utilize a number of skills that each character possesses, such as grappling hooks and bombs that help you traverse the wasteland and uncover hidden areas. During battle, an immense amount of options are available in order to overcome enemies, from standard attacks, character-specific abilities, as well as special items known as runes that allow the player to summon powerful guardians to aid them in battle. As you would expect, you'll be leveling up and acquiring equipment along the way that all has the potential to alter each character's statistics, which result in furthering their proficiency in battle. Overall, Wild Arms is bound to satisfy even the most passing fan of the RPG genre. The intricate story and mechanics that make up its gameplay are a true delight, making it a perfect addition to your collection. Grandia is one of those games that will not only entertain you, but thanks to the extremely moving story, will no doubt stick with you for years to come. It sees us taking up the role of a young boy known as Justin, who has big dreams and a real thirst for adventure. Joined by his friend Sue, they set out in search for a place known as Lent, in order to unlock the mysteries of an ancient civilization. As with most RPGs, gameplay is what makes or breaks the experience, and thankfully this is where Grandia truly begins to shine. During battle, it uses an action meter for combat. Each enemy and party member moves through the action meter at the bottom right corner of the screen, and when your character's icon comes into the action section, you choose what to do. Now there's a wide array of actions such as defend, items, magic, or special moves in which to utilize. Once selected, you'll have to wait to perform the action until the character's icon moves towards the end of the meter, where the move will finally be executed. It's a pretty unique setup, with different actions having different speeds, which manages to lend an incredible amount of strategy to each encounter and really makes you think your every move. Grandia is a long, challenging and enthralling adventure that is bound to satisfy both long-time veterans of the genre as well as newcomers alike. Luna Silver Star Story is a remake of the classic Sega CD version. It manages to retain everything that made its initial release so memorable, but at the same time adding in new elements and mechanics that help elevate it above its original incarnation. The adventure sees players being cast as a boy known as Alex, who dreams of one day becoming a Dragon Master. Along the way, you'll meet a lovable cast of characters as well as locations that really help flesh out the believability of the world and the events that unfold. Gameplay-wise, the battling system present within the game has to be one of the finest aspects of the experience. It requires the player to be conscious of each party member's location on the field, due to each only having a limited amount of steps that they can take during each turn. As you would expect, a whole range of abilities are afforded to the player, resulting in many unique ways in which to overcome enemies. Overall, Luna's Silver Star Story Complete offers up a fine adventure that combines a touching story with engaging gameplay, which ultimately cements it as one of the finest RPGs on the system. At the start of the adventure, the player has the choice between two playable characters, those being Claude or Renner. There's not many differences between the two different stories that are presented depending on which character you choose, but it still manages to warrant a second playthrough once you're done, which really adds to the replay value of the experience. Gameplay wise, battles play out in quite a unique fashion. It's all in real time, with the several abilities you possess just a button press away. You'll be learning quite a few of them as well as you progress throughout the story, and especially powerful attacks known as killer moves that have the potential to turn the tide of a battle in the blink of an eye. It's an incredibly deep experience that will see you cooking, forging and composing new skills that further help the proficiency of your characters both off and off the field. If you've yet to play this classic, now is the perfect time to jump in and add it to your collection. The Legend of Dragoon sees the player taking up the role of Dart, a young man that is plunged into an ongoing conflict between two warring factions. The story does have the potential to be quite cliché, but don't let the premise fool you, as there are many exciting twists and turns along the way that really help propel the narrative. It might not blow you away, but what will is the gameplay. The battling system is turn-based in nature, but offers a slight twist in the form of quick-time events known as additions that appear upon carrying out attacks. It's a neat little way to keep players players engage during long encounters, and also gives them the opportunity to deal out some extra damage, and even chain attacks if carried out correctly. As you would expect with most RPGs, over the course of its duration you'll be learning several abilities, gaining access to new equipment and items, as well as leveling up your party, developing them into an unstoppable force. Although not the best RPG on the system, it's definitely one that deserves a place in your collection. Suikoden 2 shares much in common with the previous entry in the series, but manages to introduce new mechanics and ideas that help it stand on its own. The story follows 3 childhood friends who find themselves in the middle of a war brought on by a prince known as Luca. After the 2 friends disappear, the hero takes it upon himself to take a stand against the tyranny of the prince and hopefully reunite with his lost companions. Now, what makes this experience unique is the inclusion of several types of combat. There are 3 in total, which range from regular encounters, duel, and finally massive battles. Regular encounters see up to 6 characters taking on enemies in a typical turn-based fashion with a whole range of abilities at the player's disposal. Duel takes on a sort of rock paper scissors approach to each encounter, whilst massive battles present themselves in a grid-style battle system that shares much in common with the likes of the Fire Emblem series. To have these different styles of play all present within one game, each as well thought out as the next, is an incredible achievement and really helps propel the experience into something truly unique. Final Fantasy VII is regarded as one of the finest RPGs of all time, and it's easy to see why. It manages to weave an incredible tale of love, sacrifice, and coming to terms with loss, whilst introducing several new mechanics and ideas that will go on to become staples of the series. Players assume the role of Cloud and a ragtag group of companions as they work towards bringing down Shinra, a sort of mega corporation who plan to use the world's lifeblood as an energy source to increase profits. You'll be exploring a vast range of locations, with useful items and colourful NPCs to help you along the way, but where it all truly comes to life is within battle. Each encounter takes advantage of the ATB system that requires players to select from a list of attacks or special abilities until defeated. But what makes the system even more intricate is the inclusion of special orbs known as materia. These orbs form the main way in which to customise characters. New spells, monsters to summon, statistical upgrades and much more can all be gained by taking advantage of the system. Now let's face it, if you're watching this video, there's a high possibility that you have already played this game, but not including it on a video titled Must Have would be a huge disservice to an adventure that has managed to stay relevant for over 20 years. Xenogears sees players assuming the role of a young man who has been stricken with amnesia. After an attack from a neighbouring country leaves his town in ruins, he sets out on an adventure of discovery and meets a cast of characters that ultimately will help him find who he is and his place within the world. Now, what makes Xenogears enjoyable for me is the incredible battle system that is essentially made up of 2 distinct aspects. You can either fight on foot, or after a specific point in the game, utilise what is called a gear, essentially a giant mech. Several button combinations form your attacks. These attacks can be chained to form combos and ultimately perform death blows that deal severe damage to the enemy, with the journey having the potential to last up to 70 hours with all of the side quests and extra content available. Xenogears is one hell of a big game, so if it passed you by back in the day, now is the perfect time to jump in and experience this classic for yourself. Chrono Cross is the sequel to the timeless adventure Chrono Trigger, but where that journey was all about travelling time, Chrono Cross ups the ante and sees the player travelling dimensions, taking up the role of Surge and a randomly selected party member at the beginning of the story. It manages to weave an intricate tale with many twists and bizarre revelations that even tie into the events of the first game towards the end. The first aspect many players will notice though are the visuals. This was Square at their best. Each character, NPC and environment looks incredible, especially when considering the power of the hardware it was produced on. It's a real testament to the talent of the team behind it. To go along with the stylish look is a well thought out and implemented battling system that is truly unique in its execution. As you would expect, you'll be leveling up and learning more powerful abilities as you progress, and with over 40 playable characters to utilise throughout the adventure, there's a huge amount to get used to and try out, whilst you build your ultimate team of unstoppable allies. Chrono Cross is quite simply one of the finest RPGs ever made, and would make a solid addition to any PlayStation owner's library. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series, and after having played nearly all of the entries in the series, I can safely say that the 9th iteration has to be one of the finest out of the bunch. The player takes up the role of Zidane, whose journey is riddled with many diverse characters and situations as you make your way through the world of Gaia. The game is challenging and rewarding, with an extremely immense amount of spells and abilities in which to learn that all aid you in battle. There is a ton of content within the game. It'll take you quite some time to see everything it has to offer, with the main campaign lasting up to 40 hours and with a whole host of post-game content that adds even more to do within the world. Square got so many things right in the 32-bit era, and Final Fantasy IX feels like the culmination of everything that was learned along the way.